All right, so next guest, Rich Kibbar, everybody. So Rich has been in our recruitment community since day one, and I suppose we kind of built our businesses together. And yeah, always grateful for your input.
That's brilliant. It is insane to see how far what was Lockdown Leadership Network and the whole RepWide thing has come along. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Rich, give us a bit of insight into your background and what you do.
Yeah, so like from my point of view, I started off as everybody fell into recruitment, needed some money as quickly as possible. For some reason, decided to go into perm recruitment, and then so I worked at a company that did tech sales recruitment for about 10 years or so. All I did was just new business development. Just did not speak to any candidate for the first 3 years. So when a candidate actually came to or wanted to, when I moved into 360 as opposed to 180 and then management direction, things like that, I was like, what is this? People are actually, so I echo your thoughts in terms of what, like our dials were 80 dials, 16 decision makers, 1 job spec. And if you did that, you'd get a spec a day, and they were your metrics. Whereas I totally understand now is that the metrics are different. So we'll go through different ways about how you can get better conversations, just to echo what Alex was saying as well before.
How long have you been out in the wild outside of recruitment in the supplier world?
In the supplier world, where there's suppliers, we're everywhere. Right? They say that recruiters are like locusts, but suppliers are just as bad. And we're the worst. Yeah, so about 6 years or so, we've had Repbound, maybe a bit, yeah. And all we do is provide marketing for recruitment agencies.
Awesome. All right, next guest up, Mr. David Cahill. Looking like a tech entrepreneur.
Mate, do you know what I mean? So the reason I've got my hat on today, Dualta and I were in meetings all week down in London, and I had to do a rush job of shaving my head today in the hotel. And unfortunately, managed to scalp myself. So it's not a fashion statement. It's more of it's a large plaster. Show you later, darling.
We didn't get any, you weren't getting heckled, were you?
No, I mean, it's Alex and I've worked, yeah. I gave you a tap.
Dave and Alex work together, but give us a rundown of your background, Dave.
Yeah, so I've worked with a lot of people in this room, actually. Obviously, Mike, Joe, Dave Webb, and obviously Alex. We were all lucky enough to go through that liquid journey. With Alex. So cut my teeth with that. Developed as contracts, social work for 10 years. Took a bit of a hiatus in between with non-competes, and then went over to Hong Kong to focus on finance tech.
Was he any use, Alex? Was he any use?
To be fair, today, what? I did all right, didn't I, Mike? Me and Mike had quite a big rivalry running around for a few years. But yeah, it was a great company to be at and to learn from, and still to this day, the ethos that Alex taught us then is really what is really what's what can I make got me to where we are now.
And where you are now is living in Bali.
Living in Bali, so I'm flying back tomorrow. So we after being in Hong Kong for about 2.5 years, I identified that there was quite a big need, quite a big gap in the market on candidate generation for referrals. I think both at Liquid and at Gravitas, referrals was by far both companies' highest ROI on candidate generation, but the lowest results basically. Usually had 1 or 2 consultants who were good at it, and 1 or 2 consultants who were good at it, and the rest were pretty average. So we've built a system to basically change that, which went live about 4 or 5 weeks ago over in Australia. So we've been making quite steady progress there. Obviously, Dualta's come on board to take us into the UK and other places as well.
All right. Okay. So I suppose one of the questions earlier was about the phone's not working. What are we going to do? Recruitment's changing. What are we going to do? We'll dive into this a bit more with you, Jamie, as well. But what are we going to do, Rich?
Well, I think like what Alex, just to kind of echo what Alex was saying before, the old school way was smash a phone, 100 calls a day or whatever it may be. Just get them on the phone, and then all of a sudden you could start ringing people through Teams. Whereas the reality is now is that you've got so many. Right, I'll take it one step back. In 2008, a load of businesses were set up off the back of that crash, and they were done on better processes, still with people, done with better processes. Then COVID happened, and at the same time, there's big automation push, and I was a big advocate for it. I still am an advocate for it, but a lot of recruitment businesses were built in 2020 on the back of automation, still with lots of people, but automating tasks. Whereas this new wave coming through is that every recruitment business now and every firm is going to have AI and agents and agentic AI at the very heart of what it is that they're building. All the tech platforms that we use, everything that we do is going to have, and because of that, I think you are a human being. You place humans with other human beings, and so the most important thing nowadays is how can you get FaceTime? It doesn't have to be I'm going to get FaceTime and I need that job spec right now. You have to do that future planning. Like in marketing, you have like top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, and you have to do. There's going to be even more work for the top of funnel stuff, running the events, getting in interim directors, getting in key people, like an event like this, for example, but specifically for your market. And it is going to be a lot more community driven activity now than spec outs. Still work. Spec outs, they still work. However, communities are a huge play at the minute. And where I see that with other tech recruiters, they're sacked off the phone, not saying that the phone doesn't work, the phone does work. However, it's community first, followed up by phone calls.
Dave, you love the phone, right?
I love the phone. I spend my life in it, but I think if you're getting, so to go back to your, because I had some thoughts about this when you mentioned it. If you're getting five people on the phone from 100, each one of those calls you should come away with some form of TSI, targeted sales information. And again, this is stealing from what Alex taught us years ago. That is, you've got 5 opportunities to get a referral into something else at that point. It could be market information. It could be anything. But I think you need to be maximizing on each one of those. And when it comes to kind of like talking about, obviously embracing the new ways of working now, like, first of all, breaking down, like, what does your business need? Does it need a lot of companies are in job focused markets where actually, being open, our product isn't suited. Right, what tech is there on the market which is going to get your consultants on the phone, which is going to scrape jobs from job boards, is going to give them a list of people to phone first thing on the morning when they get in, who have got jobs, etc. If they are in candidate focused markets, though, like what software is out there? So actually, every single phone call gives them a referral. It's generating content from which is relevant to teachers, for example, with what we were just talking about there. So you're creating more and more warm phone calls for your consultants and standing out.
I'm always interested in this because the personal branding thing has worked out for me, and it's worked out for some people. But should the business drive the marketing activity, or should the recruiter? Because if we go back to what Chris was saying earlier, he wanted to be the person in control of the relationships on the new model that he was describing. And should that business be the one doing the events, doing the podcast, doing all of that, or should we be letting our recruiters out there to do the personal branding?
It depends what you want out of your business. I think, we will be taught, we were all taught as recruiters, you're essentially running your own desk, and your own desk is your own business. So what would you do to get that business going? And so the answer to that is, well, the recruiters need to set up events and the recruiters need to do everything. However, if I get your point in terms of, if that's the case, well, what happens if that recruiter just sets up and goes by themselves, or is that always going to hamper business? So I think that there has to be some kind of backup, if you will, to make sure that it's not all in the hands of just one recruiter. And when that recruiter just up sticks and goes, which they do, a very few people just set up a recruitment business having never done recruitment before. And so there's got to be some sort of contingency plans in there for sure. But it should be, if you're looking to scale the business, it should be business led. Naturally, if you're not looking to scale the business and you drive it and it's going to be your own sort of baby for life, then you need to be front and center. The business owner needs to be front and center. Alex
and Dave both give excellent answers on the phone metrics, to the gentleman's problem down there. But what's the marketing solution?
So a story that I can give you is that there's a company that we work with who focus on tech. So your answer was we place tech. Tech is massive. And so I'm sure that there'll be a niche within that. These guys, they got up to 30 people just before COVID. Just after COVID, in that kind of golden heyday of 2022 for everybody. 30 people. They went through a huge change, and they're back down to 3. So lost 20, a huge, essentially 90% of their workforce. What they've done is they've billed more as 3 people than they ever did as 30. And the reason why they did that is because they just went, why am I going at this huge market? I'm just going to say, right, we've got 250 clients. There are 250 people who are between these metrics. They do it on company size and level of funding, essentially. So we've got 250 prospects that we can ever deal with. They're only ever 250 companies. And they honed in so much on their ICP, their ideal client. And I think marketing and sales goes hand in hand nowadays. But ultimately, when everything that you do, both sales, marketing, all activities is driven to essentially an incredibly cash-rich small niche, then I don't think you can go really far wrong, providing that the service backs up. So I would say be really, really, really clear with who it is that you're aiming towards and who you want to win business from. And just anybody who's got a job is not the answer.
Yeah. What do you think, Dave?
I think going on to that, anybody who's got a job is definitely not the answer. Qualifying the quality of a business that you're bringing in. I think I would always go down the route. I would rather have 3 nailed on 100%. It doesn't need to be exclusive, I would say, but nailed on than 10 to 12 wafty. I'm focusing on those. I think in this market, especially, less sometimes is more. Focus on what is focus on what is most likely to deliver, and then go from there.
Does anybody have any life problems they'd like us to solve? Any questions from anything that we've talked about so far? No?
Your experience, you get 5 shots. 5 shots to be able to select. If you're only getting 5 shots a day to practice, is there any tools to sort of simulate? You can role play with people, right? But it's not the same as someone answering the phone that you don't know.
Yeah. Oh, from my point of view, I'll let Jamie answer that one. As in, if it's something to do with training and improving and
Join RecWa.
Yeah.
Join Orca.
yeah,
They might.
So I'll say you've just perfect plug for you, that wasn't it, Dualta?
I want to go back to the problem. He can't get the people on the phone. What do you do next?
So there's a few different elements here. The easiest way to get someone on the phone is an intro. Like, who go to your network, who can potentially introduce you to it. And one of the things that was great about being in Hong Kong is that if I wanted to speak to somebody at Goldman Sachs, I'd literally bang it out to my network, the expat network, and within 10 minutes, somebody would say, I play golf with him on a Saturday. Now, don't get me wrong, that's in Hong Kong. It's a much smaller community, but here it's similar. Go on their LinkedIn. Who are you connected to? Who can do that warm intro? So that is the most powerful.
If you're not as relentless as Big, if you know what I mean. And I've worked with this guy now, and he's relentless. Like he'll turn over every rock for a lead. But from a marketing standpoint.
So I would say generally the best business that you'll ever get is through a referral. And there are like pros and cons, and sometimes a referral wants to take the piss a little bit and they expect more, they expect blood, and I get that. However, the best way in any way to have a conversation is warm them up first so that they are excited or at least keen to have a conversation with you, whether that is because their mate has told them you need to speak to this guy because he's pretty good, or you go check out what information that they've got because they're pretty good. Kind of build it so that they come is the old field of dreams phrase. And so you got to build something that makes people want to have a conversation with you. And whether that is events, whether that is world-class information that nobody else has got access to. Too many recruiters will regurgitate information that they get from like a Crunchbase or a Deloitte or something like that and try and pass it off as their own. Get unique information that only you have access to. So, and there's other ways, whether it's meetups or just taking people out, getting them pissed. I mean, I know in certain sectors, I'm going to point at Shiv in the law side of things, is how can I get barristers as drunk as possible, as quickly as possible? And then lo and behold, you're going to have a load of business, because that's just how that industry works. But ultimately, build something where it entices people to actually come so that they have that conversation with you.
I suppose the theme here is building it back better. Right?
Yeah.
So my business is decimated. I'm replanning. I'm looking at my tech. I'm looking at my marketing solution. How do I get started? What do I do?
It goes back to who's your target clients. Not only the companies, but the decision makers within those ones. I would also say that I know a handful of recruiters now that are selling agents, as in ChatGPT agents. They're building bots that replace the entry level placements that they were making. So they're selling the bots essentially. That is, whilst it's not the big fees, you could just have this kind of recurring revenue based off pre-built bots. And so I know I'm addressing to yourself only because you made a mistake of actually asking a question. But I think it all boils down to, where do I start is, right, who's my target market, and do all the pestle analysis and making sure they've actually got money and there's a need there. And where do I start with the tech? It is, what is the most future-proof tech that's out there? Don't get, oh man. Is there anybody from Bullhorn here? No. Bullhorn, for example, what they're doing is they're like plugging things in after the event. And so if anybody's on, is anybody actually on Bullhorn?
I have nothing to do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But for example, it's like that was a brilliant system, but it's been built 10, 15 years or so ago, and they happen to get the plugins afterwards. Whereas if you're future-proofing it now, you build your entire ecosystem about what is going to be in the next 5 years, and that next 5 years is AI powered.
What does it look like? So what does the future recruiter look like?
I mean, I think, like everyone says, it's a difficult one to answer. I think a future recruiter looks like there's someone who is on the phone for 8 hours a day, but who is being fed leads from the different elements of tech. You know, just to go back to one of the questions I was asked there, if it was me with a recruitment business now, you know, there's so many options for tech on the market now, like, which is going to really truly push your needle. And only speak to those suppliers, because you will be getting phoned by 20, 30, 40 of us a day. Right? What is the business needs? Does the business need to save money on compliance? Does the business need to work on efficiencies? Does the business need to generate more jobs, more candidates? You know, whatever. Look at what is the business's problem first. Once you've decided that, then you know which aspects of tech to look at. And don't waste your time speaking to people who don't fit in that, because everybody will try and sell you something. Everybody will tell you it's going to change your life, but actually, if it's not addressing your problem, it's a waste of time for both parties. So for me, that's the first. That would be the first thing I would be doing. Once that's done, and what going back to what you asked with the future, you will then be able to bring your consultants in and keep them consistently bang, which is the USP of a recruiter. An AI bot's never going to have those relationships. TAs, you know, they don't get paid commission. I'm nearly swore there. They don't care much. You know, that is everyone's, I would assume, USP in this room. And in 5 years' time, you will have a lot smaller offices, but they will be noisy. It'll be back to the liquid days where you walk in and it's just like noise, but a lot smaller and a lot more efficient. But with them being fed leads that they need to do to make the billings. Basically, that's my dream, personal opinion.
I think it's an excellent one to stop it on. Any questions? Let me rehash that just for the podcast. So he's in legal recruitment, struggling with sourcing and engaging with candidates.
So I mean, for me, your first element is you need to start forming the communities. Referrals should be your number one priority right now. You know, you should be network. Every single candidate you go meet should be introducing you to 3 more, and they should be from a very start know exactly what you're looking for, and point because you've got to train these people as well. You've got to give them the information of who they should be recommending to you. But to do that as well, you also need to build your presence. So, going back to what Rich was saying, look at your niche. What information can you take to these meetings that no one else is going to tell them? Because even if they're not looking now, like, partner recruitment is obviously, as you'll know, is a long-term game. You're probably not going to get much from the first meeting. It's going to take you, I would guess, years to cultivate some of these relationships. So you need to give them consistent reasons to be speaking to you, and then go from there. Would be my advice.
I think, I did a lot of independent recruiter advisory work 2 years back. You did a lot of it with me. And I think you've probably coached quite a few guys who've done legal recruitment as independent recruiters.
Yeah. So, like, my take on it is that I get that if you're a startup, cash is life. Cash is your oxygen in that business. So you're thinking, right, shit, I need to make placements ASAP. And you've got to balance that with, I also want to be in business in 3 to 4 years' time. So a question is, like, roughly these people that you're working with, that you want to place, how long are they in a job for? Do they swap every year, or do they swap every 3 or 4 years-ish?
On average, I'd say some of the ones that are newly qualified to maybe 4 years qualified, maybe another 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years.
Your partners and your kind of director level, some of the directors will come around after a year or two, depending on the package.
Yeah.
Whereas someone that's 10 years senior, they might be in the job for about 10 or 15 years. So it can vary depending on.
Right, I'm with you. Yeah, and so, like, you've obviously, like, you've got a need, as in, right now I've got a job and I need to fill it. There'll be lots of people envious of you in the fact that you can pull jobs just like that. There'll be lots of people wanting it the other way around. So subtle gloating for you. I look at it in, so, like, say for example, a candidate they're at a company for 36 months, 3 years, 36 months. They're only ever looking for one of those 36 months. So 35 out of 36, or 1/36 of that time, they're only really interested in what it is a recruiter's got to tell them, because all they're doing is just pushing jobs. I've got this job, do you want it? Or I've got this extra base salary, do you want it? And so on. And of course they'll listen, but if the money's good. And so, yeah, like everybody's been saying, it's balancing that kind of, I've got this really interesting thing here for you, have it, versus the long-term play. So you can keep in contact with them every month over those 35 months until after the 36th month, they're looking, and that comes through. I know I keep saying getting pissed as a way forward, just because dualta is here, and if you want to get into, yeah, alcohol and money talks. However, it doesn't have to be that. It can be any kind of events. You see it all the time. People going out to get in a box or whatever it may be, depending on what your budget is, at a sporting event or anything like that. But it really is how can you differentiate yourself? And so in order to get candidates you got to give them something that they want, and they don't want a job every 1 month. They want information that's going to make them feel better. They're going to want to feel better about themselves. They're going to want to get information exactly like this that's going to help them improve in their job, and they're going to want to go away and go, right, I can make my job easier by doing X, Y, and Z. So partnering, if I were you, I would partner with there'll be like high level interim, like chief counsel officers or chief legal officers, things like that. I'll see if you can partner in with those, because they're the access to all the good people below them as well.
How much should you be spending on marketing as a percentage of your GP and MI?
That's going to go to you, that one.
It depends on how much you want to push. Obviously, I would say between roughly 5 to 10%. Naturally, I would say, you've got to be pushed towards 20% and all that kind of stuff. But you've got to throw in there, like, some businesses will include LinkedIn job, as in the ability to send out in-mails as part of their marketing spend, or job boards, job slots, things like that as part of their marketing spend. Ultimately, anywhere between 5 and 20, depends on how much you want to turn the dial of personal branding, proper content, research pieces, all things like that, as well as throwing it at events and so on. So, yeah. So what we're seeing that works really well at the minute is, I don't mean this disrespectfully of recruiters, it just is what it is like, if I was to say something, as in if a recruiter was to say something to, oh, this is how you should run your job, do your job better, Mr. Lawyer, or what sector are you in? Okay. So this is how you develop better, as an example, and it comes from a recruiter, and then they get, obviously that's just going to get shot down and not interested. a prophet is not welcome in their own home, is what they say. So what works really well is certainly from a long-term play, do partnering with either interims or people that sell a completely different service to the same market, asking them. So like newsletters, roundtables, getting those people on board and building up relationships that way. A bit like what dualta does in terms of bring key people into the room, ask them questions, and then that you're seen as the kind of connector between everybody. So I would do that. That as a tactic is good. I would also
If you can invest in it and you have the capability to have 4 people today.
Yeah, personality drives a lot in that. The other thing is you are also seen as a recruiter, and a recruiter should also know the market. So as old school as this is, you should know all staffing levels, skills, entry, what skills are being needed to come into the market, what people should be getting paid, perks, benefits. So your classic kind of like, this is how you hire a developer and this is what you need to pay them. This is what skills you have. That should just be a given, I would say, every 6 to 12 months anyway, as well.
We've had a lot of success from salary surveys over the years. And it's not just releasing them, it's the research piece to get the information, to engage candidates that you're looking to get. And then they give you the information on the basis that they're going to get everybody else's info in that they're worth this. And then you give them the information. So there's a couple of touch points straight away and engagement. And then you ask them what they thought about it. And then, then you get the meeting. So I think it's a good way.
Yeah. Perception as well goes a long way. I know it's not what you know, it's who you know quite often in staffing and recruitment. So the perception is, oh, if I'm seen with that person or that person knows me, and then all of a sudden, then happy days. And so they must be good because they know insert person's name. So yeah, perception and data and information does go a long way to building that brand in the long run.
All right, guys, that's our guest. We'll get on to the next one pretty soon.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.